Hi to the greatest viewers in all of YouTube land. We're going to continue in our series of Confessions of a NASCAR Photographer. Unfortunately, LaDon George has passed away, and we were able to get his story before his ongoing to the heavenly racetrack in the sky. Brian Hallman, our good buddy that we've known for many, many decades, was able to do the interview job. We're sorry about the sound. We did our best with it because LaDon was of ill health at the time. But please enjoy this take from many cool stories from the racetrack as Don bridged the gap over the decades of the growth of NASCAR from the 90s on into the 2010s. So thanks for watching, and we think you'll enjoy this installment.
We're in Castleberry, Florida today, talking to LaDon George, who shot for Winston Cup Scene and Winston Cup Illustrated from 1988 to 2013. I guess first things first, LaDon, were you a race fan first, or were you a photographer first?
Well, first I was a race fan. I started when I was a kid being a race fan because my parents were race fans. And that was in the 50s, early 50s, because my father was called back to service for the Korean War, and we were stationed in Green Cove Springs. So, and we, on the weekends, we used to go to Jacksonville or to Orlando or Pine Castle and watch the stock. Then it was stock car racing. It was the old cars. So that's where I began racing. And there was a speedway here in Orlando, that Sunbrook Speedway, that we went to majority of the time. But yeah, Dick Johnson was my favorite driver there. He also ran NASCAR on the beach. And the way we knew him was my parents used to buy Pontiacs, American Mare Pontiac in Orlando. So he sold us our cars, and I was his favorite fan.
So he was a car dealer?
No, he was a salesman.
Salesman. Oh, okay. At the dealership.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they built his Pontiacs to run on the beach, and they first raced in Daytona. Okay. So that's how that came about, and been a fan ever since. But went to the first Daytona race in '58 because friends where we lived in Orlando, down the street, the guy worked for Francis in building the speedway. So when they got ready to open, he asked my dad if he wanted to come down and get a job for parking cars. So the whole family went down, he parked cars, and then we all sat there and watched the 1958 Daytona 500. T. Taylor was on the start-finish line, and I was in for turn 4. So, but yeah, that's how that all started. And then I became a photographer later.
Did you go to more races after that? Did you keep
Yes and no. I mean, I kept up with a lot of them. Even when I lived in Lauderdale, my girlfriend worked for STP, so we got free tickets to the 500. So we'd go to drive up to the 500 in Daytona. But yeah, we went to quite a few. I couldn't tell you which ones, but we went to quite a few of them.
Was it cup races or dirt races, or
No, it's cup races at 500.
I mean, would you go to Atlanta or anything like that, or just a Daytona?
When I was growing up there, I was pretty much Daytona. Okay. You know. So other than that, I didn't start going to. Well, I went to Charlotte, so I had this job where I could float around, and a distributor of mine in Charlotte had a lot of Coca-Cola products, so he got a lot of tickets or passes. So I'd go up there on Charlotte weekend, work him, and in the weekend he gave me passes, and I'd go shoot 600
Okay.
in Charlotte. But then I'd come back. So then I started just shooting, you know. First I started shooting, I shot a couple races for a stock car, Dick Bergen.
So you got in with Bergeron?
Yeah, well, not really, because he got me passes, but they weren't good passes. I was like in the infield, you know, no garage passes, and no Victor Lane or anything. But that was only a year or so.
No.
So, and then I guess Grassman saw me somewhere, and because I used to shoot a lot of pitchers in the infield.
Okay.
You know, but then ran into Grassman, and he wanted to know if I wanted to work for him or go work for the scene. Now back then it was just, you know, $10 pitcher here and there, and
I remember the days.
yeah, and that's pretty much what it was. You paid for getting there, and you paid for going home. You know, and sometimes they'd pay for your room.
So how far would you travel? I mean, you lived here in Orlando at the time.
Yeah.
How far would you go? Because
Charlotte.
so would you do Darlington?
Yeah, I did pretty much the southeast.
Okay.
When I first started, I didn't go to all of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, southeast. First part was you know, Atlanta. I'd go to Atlanta, Talladega, Charlotte, or Daytona.
So you wound up with Scene through Grassman,
Yeah,
and that was 1988.
yeah.
How did you start increasing your schedule? I mean, I know at one point you were doing basically the full schedule.
Yeah. It was just overtime. The way my jobs worked. And then mainly when I started shooting more for Illustrated
Okay.
than I did for Scene. And I'd say more in 92 back then.
Yeah.
More with Illustrated because I got paid.
Well, most of us started out doing it for fun.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Did as you started going to all these other places, did you have a favorite racetrack you liked to go to? Whether it be for what went on around it or whether it's just the track itself?
The two I like is Talladega. Is the number one for speed. When you're shooting outside with a 12-inch block between you and the cars, you're shooting us through the fence, and they're coming at you 189 to 200 miles an hour, and their single foul is a rush. You know, it's just a rush.
Yeah.
You know, and then you have that after draft that comes in and hits you. You know about that, yeah. And then Bristol, the old Bristol.
Yeah.
When before they changed the track around. That was when, if you wanted a ticket, you had to leave it to your heirs to get a ticket to Bristol. Now it's just Bristol. But some of the tracks you really enjoyed were food. Talladega. On Saturday, before the race, Saturday's race, we'd have barbecue from a local vendor.
Okay.
Catered. So you had good barbecue, good catfish at Talladega.
Yeah.
And then some of the other ones, like Pocono, is a hell of an ass track to shoot. But Pocono, they had a feast they put out on Friday this is for writers and photographers. Yeah. And everything in there they had, for sure. But it was about getting in the feast and stuff. When I started out, maybe you too, photographers were down in the bottom of the line. They weren't writers. Writers didn't want them in there. Only time you got to go in there is to shoot a press conference.
Yep.
and then back out.
Yep.
So eventually we all finally came together, but we still had a separate place for photographers,
Oh, I remember the days of sitting outside.
Yeah, the first race I shot at Daytona, we were in a trailer out there.
No, I know we used to do trailers at Charlotte too.
Yeah, trailer at Charlotte, and I think they still. Last time I was in Martinsville, we had a trailer outside, But anyway, we finally merged with the riders, or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but and Loudon on Fridays before the race, after the race, Fridays after practice, all that lobster fest. You could have you went through and you got one lobster, plus corn on the cob and coleslaw and everything else. But if at the end, if everybody got served, you'll get whatever you wanted. So you had your feast of lobster in Loudon. So that's two. And the other deal is when they open new tracks, they always had a buffet with chefs and stuff, like Texas and California.
Yeah.
There were chefs there when how you want your breakfast? How you want your eggs? But that disappears after a while.
Yeah. No. I know it's at one point. Did you ever do the full schedule? I know you were close to doing full.
Yeah, I was doing the full schedule. And also, sometime I did. I'll tell you about another reason I was shooting. I got to shoot Daytona was my father lived in Ormond Beach at the time, and one of the big wheels at Daytona went to church, same church my father did. So he ended up getting me credentials to go race. So I'd go in, and I couldn't get any real place, but I wore them around. And then I got credentials for 24 hours. So I was pretty much on 24 hours, which that's what's cool for me to shoot, because if you had a fire suit, you can go over the wall and shoot the cars.
Now you did several 24-hour races.
Yeah, I even done some for Scene and Illustrator, mainly Illustrator.
Yeah,
I did several 24 hours for them, especially when there was Cup guys running in it, So, and I also used to do practice in January here in Daytona.
Okay.
For the Cup. That's when it didn't have any paint or anything on them, just testing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, with all the traveling you did, that was, 34, 35 weekends a year?
36 sometimes.
How hard was that to deal with? I mean, did come home, did you drive from here, or did you fly from here?
It depends. I drive from here. I drive from here to Charlotte, Atlanta, stuff like that, to Bristol. But everything else, they flew me. Flew to Loudon, California, Texas. I went to all the races.
They flew you out of Orlando?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because with me in Charlotte, they would put us on the race day flights.
Well, see, remember a couple of times I went on race day flights.
Yep.
I'd drive from here to Charlotte, and then we'd get on the race day flights and fly up, fly back same day.
Yep.
Which in a way was good, because I went up early and saw friends and stuff, and they flew, and then I came back. But
well, no, we did San Francisco, Sears Point a couple of times, and we
Right.
did Las Vegas a couple of times.
Right.
And we would do the tourist thing.
Yeah.
On Saturdays.
Right. But well, when I went up before on Sunday race day stuff, we went Sunday.
Yeah.
All the close ones. Did we stay over in California on race day?
Yes.
One night.
We stayed one night.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we would fly out Saturday and get there pretty early in the morning. We would go to the racetrack, get credentials, so we were good. We didn't have to shoot the support race,
Right.
which was Southwest Tour.
Right.
And then we'd go back into town, because I know me and you and Don Winchester, we wound up at the Cable Car Museum and
Robinson.
Yep. That was another trip with Jeff Robinson.
Yeah.
That was a separate
He was
trip.
directing traffic.
Directing traffic.
And the cops came up and said, "Doing a good job there, boy."
That's a story all to itself.
So,
But yeah, that was. I remember we did those.
yeah, because one time we went out to California. Plane was never on time, and he always had to put oil in it before it took off. The plane was like, I don't know.
Yeah, they were charters.
Right. Out of signature.
Yeah, Ricky Rudd's sister, I believe.
Yeah.
DK Ulrich was involved. It was.
Yeah. But I don't know. But I just remember.
They used to call them the zoo plane.
Yeah.
And I've seen some pretty wild stuff going on my flights on them.
Yeah. So.
Because it was all charter.
Yeah, it was all chartered. Yeah. So. But yeah, we messed around there in California, and the same way with going to races. Okay. And when I flew out of here, first they started making my flights to start with, and then that kind of went, yeah. Then I told them I'd just make my flights and everything from here, because I knew, so I could make my flights early in the morning to get to LaDon or where I was going to be there that morning at 10 o'clock. I usually went to the airport here at 5 o'clock, okay, to get a 7 o'clock flight or whatever. So, but then I'd have all the rest of the day Friday. And then after Scene left Illustrated, then I had at least a day or a day and a half to myself, or us who were shooting for Illustrated.
Yeah.
To do whatever we wanted to. So we went tourist, when we got there.
So you got to see a lot of stuff.
Right, I got to see a lot of stuff I normally wouldn't get to see.
Yeah.
Meet different people and stuff. But yeah, I got a lot of stuff I normally wouldn't see, like in California. Yeah, everywhere we went, I always tried to go somewheres, First time around. Then the second time around, stay at the hotel. So.
Now, since you did so much traveling, you saw the same people week after week. So it was like a traveling family?
It was a circus.
Okay.
Like a circus, okay? We'd all come together on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then Monday morning, we'd all leave, go our separate ways. Next week, we'd all come together, So you got to know pretty much everybody there, main people.
Yeah.
You got to know. So, yeah, people ask me, and I always say, it's just a circus that travels from one city to the other.
Well, I know there were a lot of people, but did you have certain people that you ran with, or did you just associate with everybody? Because I don't know of anybody that didn't like LaDon George.
You talking about in the garage or people just run?
The people that you
worked with?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I got along with everybody. But it's just like, well, writers stick together, photographers stick together, drivers don't stick together, But, yeah, Illustrated, we pretty much had our clique, if you want to call it that. That was Tim Wilcox, Jeff Robinson, Flew Hardy, and
Elmer,
yeah. So Elmer's about the longest one that's been with the Scene and Illustrator of anybody. He was there when Brian and them had a Scene,
I actually spoke to.
But a lot of these people were just part time.
Yeah.
They go to one race or two races or 4 races or whatever. Like Elmer would come to Daytona, he'd go to Talladega, he'd go to Atlanta, different ones like that. And then a couple times he went to Chicago. But, we had different groups of people in different areas that shot in those areas. Everybody that shot for Scene Illustrated go everywhere, so. But that's why when I started shooting for Illustrated, well, that was really heaven. because I didn't have to mess around with scene,
Yep.
you know. So, and Illustrated had their own magazine, glossy, and everything, and we shoot stuff. Now we'd shoot Sunday. If scene needed any of our stuff, they could use it.
Yeah. Because 92 is when I started, when you started, everybody was together.
Right.
In 92, they split off.
AB's American Business Journals, the Shaws bought scene, not Shaws. They sold it. Shaws had the scene in Illustrated in 92, and they sold it to whatever group.
I don't even remember.
I don't even remember.
Yeah.
But they sold it, and so we were still just Illustrated. Greg still owned Illustrated and Racing for Kids. So that was good because we'd go in there on Friday, Saturday. And sometimes we had to shoot qualifying on Saturday morning, you know.
Yeah.
Then we'd all the scene guys, and we'd say, "See ya."
Yeah, I remember those. Because I was a scene guy.
Thank you to our two favorite lensmen, LaDon and Brian, for the end of part 1. Next Tuesday at noon, please tune in for part 2, as both talk about the growth of the sport and getting to know those folks around them, including Dale Earnhardt and his pranks with Mr. George and his cameras. We'll see you then.